And thank you all again for your patience. We're going to jump into clean technology now, a topic that's on everyone's lips at the moment, especially in light of global situation. To start off, we're going to have a chat panel, presentation. God, my brain just broke there. My apologies. By Federico Cristoforoni, the co-founder of NetZero Insights. I hope I pronounced your name correctly there under the pressure. Take it away. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Just checking that my presentation. Yes. All right. So, hi everyone. We're going to talk today about climate technology, which for short is climate tech. I will talk about the trends in investment trends in Europe, North America, and then have a deeper dive within the situation in Portugal, more specifically. But first things first, who am I? I'm Federico Cristoforoni. I'm one of the co-founders of NetZero Insights, which is the market intelligence platform for climate innovation, used by investors, corporates, and decision makers to understand what's happening in climate innovation. Very simply put, we have a very big database of startups and organizations developing technologies addressing climate change. All right, so I also thought it was interesting and important to understand what is climate tech more specifically. It's a word and a very hyped concept now. There's a lot of attention on the topic, but there are also very different definitions out there, so I thought it was important and interesting to be aligned with one single definition. The most popular one out there right now is the one by PwC. It's covered here by the chair, but they have been the one writing this report, State of Climate Tech, and they refer to climate tech as the technologies that are explicitly focused on reducing greenhouse gas emissions or addressing the impacts of climate change. This is a very good definition. I like it. Nevertheless, we try to go one step further, and we tend to include and align to the definition of the EU taxonomy, the framework they have for the sustainable activities, where they don't stop only to climate change mitigation and adaptation, but tend to include also other environmental objectives such as circular economy, pollution prevention and control, biodiversity and ecosystems, and water and marine resources. So that's the definition that we use. Any innovation, any startup developing a solution addressing one of these topics will be in our scope and defined as climate tech within this analysis. So recently, last week, we released an analysis of the state of investment in climate tech in Q3 2022. Europe and North America, I'm going to share with you the main takeaways. So good things first. The screen is. I prepared a presentation too. Yes, thank you. You can see here at the data, you can see that the trend is growing. A lot of more capital is increasingly going into the space. 2021 was a record year for investment in climate. It was 2.5 times what was collected in 2020, which is very, very positive. And in 2022, we already got 58 billion, so we almost have as much as the year before, which was a record year. And we are still missing one quarter, so we estimate that this year is going to be the highest in funding rounds in climate ever. So apparently a good time to be in climate tech. However, if we look at the data on a quarterly basis, we can see that the picture is actually very different. We had this stable growth during 2021, which we said a very positive and strong time for climate, and an apex, so the better time, the better quarter was Q1 2022. It was a good year and a good time also for venture in general, so not just climate, but everything related to technology and innovation was getting a lot of capital from investors. And afterwards, a few things happened, such as, energy crisis, economic instability, political crisis with Russia and Ukraine, energy crisis. So the trend is been reverting, and investment in climate tech, but actually in any thing related to venture capital, has been lowering in the last quarters. Nevertheless, we estimate that the trend is going to change soon already in Q4 for two main reasons. Reason number one, decarbonization and climate change are not going anywhere. Every day, if anything, they get more urgent and pressing, so we need more capital in any way, in any sort, so this will come, and it's already coming. On top of that, we also had a very good news from the US. There was a big law that was announced a few weeks back. It's called the Inflation Reduction Act, and essentially it's granting a lot of fiscal and financial incentives to climate and climate innovation in the United States. It's a very, very big bill, so we expect this to go up. Finally, then I'll maybe take a break on the bar chart for a second, but here we go for the comparison of the amount, so the share of investment in climate tech in relation to venture capital as a whole. And we can see that regardless, like despite of the decline over time, the share of capital invested in climate tech in relation to all the other sectors and verticals is going up. I think this is very positive news, and it's nice that for us to learn about this as well. No, another bar chart. Well, here I look at the funding in this quarter by country. The country that got the most capital is the United States by far, and then followed by UK, Sweden, and all the others here in this list. What I wanted to show, though, was the variation over time of the funding, comparing the data of this quarter with the year before, so Q3 2021, and the quarter before, so Q2 2022. What we see here is that investment is flowing into the Nordics. That's maybe not surprising, but I think it's amazing to see that even though there is crisis of any sort anywhere, the Nordics and Denmark got over a 1,000 increase in investment 1 year towards the other. So the same for Norway, Finland, and Sweden, very positive growth. I think it's also surprising, at least it was for me, to see that countries such as Germany, Netherlands, and Canada, which are usually associated to very strong climate innovation and sustainability cultures, are actually decreasing. Hopefully this is just temporary, of course. In terms of sectors, 43% of the investment this quarter went into energy. Then it's followed by transportation with about 20%, food and agriculture, and circular economy. And here I have the same sectors compared again to the year before and the quarter before. To keep it short, I wanted to highlight how much capital and attention is going into greenhouse gas removal and capture solutions, so ways to either capture emissions when the polluters emit them or to get them out of the atmosphere. Again, a 1,000 increase is big, is important, and I think it was interesting to highlight. Finally, I break down the solutions, the investment by solution, so the technologies, the solutions that are most relevant. We can see that, I don't know if you can see it, but the first bar, it's electric vehicles, EVs, is getting almost $4 billion just in this quarter, which is 27% of the total investment in the quarter, which is massive. Then batteries, a part of this is in the EV, other applications such as for the grid. Then hydrogen, climate fintech, and nuclear energy. Interesting for me to see that hydrogen is getting the same amount of money as climate fintech and nuclear energy. Usually there is a lot of attention and talks about hydrogen as one of the most important solutions to address the climate crisis. You would expect a bit more of investment in that area. EV instead is not that surprising. I mean, it's a mature technology. We know all of Tesla and the development of this market. It needs more capital to deploy and scale and build the infrastructure around the manufacturing of the car and battery itself. So we've seen a lot of capital going here. Looking at the solutions, again, comparison time over, like quarter over quarter and year over year. Again, same thing, hydrogen is going a bit down, so maybe not the best quarter for them. Impressive to see the raise in investment into nuclear energy. Again, I don't think it's random given the energy crisis. the energy instability, we've seen private and public investors looking for innovative and probably safer approach to exploit nuclear energy. All right, this was very quickly about the European and US picture. Now, well, we are foreigners, we're not Portuguese, but we're based here in Lisbon, and as such, we wanted to know what's going on in climate tech in Portugal. So today we are announcing our study, the report State of Climate Tech in Portugal, and we're going to have a quick look at the Portuguese ecosystem. I'm clicking, yes. So, good news, much more investment going in climate tech in Portugal. You see, it was a bit, not much was happening, was always the same level. This year we had a 4x increase in investment. This is mostly due to this big round from PowerDot, which, surprise, surprise, EV charging company, got 150 million in funding, and then the rest is other company. We are comparing H1, so just the first half of this year, with the full year. So there is attention, things are happening also in Portugal. If we look at the number of companies, so not funding, and we compare it to the European average, so how many companies are in Europe on average, we see that Portugal, when we look at the numbers by million population, has more companies, climate tech companies, than the European average, which is very positive. Instead, if we look at absolute numbers, 346 companies were identified by us in Portugal, and we found out that 16 companies out of 100 are in climate tech. So that's cool, I think. Going back to, sorry, one slide ahead. Then I compared, we had a look at the funding, which is a bit less positive, but it's important to be aware of this. So Portugal, compared to the European average, we saw before that in terms of number of companies was doing well. In terms of funding, is still very much behind. And we saw also how 2022 has been a record year this far. The gap is still important. For getting the fuller picture, we also compare it to the strongest economy in Europe. You can see UK, Germany, France, and Spain, how much more capital they're getting. Portugal is this little bit, and again, it's important for reference to have a look at the full picture, in my opinion. Finally, we also try to play it a bit more fair and compare it to countries with a similar GDP in Europe. We can see that Portugal is outperforming both in terms of number of companies and capital raised. Romania, Czech Republic, Greece, and Hungary, which are similar GDPs. As we saw before, Finland is part of the Nordics and a super strong ecosystem, so it's, again, a hard comparison to win. But therefore, Portugal is doing fairly well in relation to similar countries. Now we zoom into Portugal specifically, where the funding is going. We answer Lisbon is getting 66% of the funding in climate tech ever, then followed by Coimbra and Porto, 10% to other cities. Instead, if we look at the district and the number of companies, the picture is similar. Lisbon is getting the big majority of companies. Porto is the second district by number of companies. Finally, we had also a look at the startup programs, so acceleration programs, incubation programs, focusing on impact and climate change here in Portugal. We identified 29 of them, 25 of which focus only on climate, and 21 are focused on a specific sector, just on one vertical. The most popular ones are the blue economy and energy, with 24%. I just realized that this chart is not very easy to read, maybe, but blue economy and energy, 24. Then mobility, circular economy, agriculture and forestry, tourism, and real estate. Interesting to see that blue economy is gaining a lot of attention from the corporates, the investors, the one that make and finance the acceleration programs, right? That makes sense. Portugal has one of the longest coasts, if not the longest in Europe, so a big room for opportunities, investment, and possibly more sustainable solutions as well. But then when we look at where the funding are actually going, transport is getting almost half of the pie, and then followed by energy, food and agriculture, and circular economy and industry. So blue economy maybe is what will come next for Portugal in the next years. This was a quick overview. Please do pass by our stand. We are exhibiting here at Planetiers to check, to touch and see the actual report on Portugal that we are announcing today. On our website, you can also access for free other publications, such as the quarterly report, so where the charts were coming from, and other topics. Finally, these are my contact details in case you are interested in starting a conversation or thinking about ways to access our data or working together. Please do reach out and let's stay in touch. Thank you very much for your attention.